This afternoon we are going to discuss embedding care within Krishna conscious communities or within devotee communities. Okay, I hope you all are able to hear me. Okay, Hare Krishna. I thought we will begin this seminar in continuation from last year's ILS. Last year ILS there was a survey done which was very revealing to me, and it actually affected my heart also. So I thought we'll begin with that. How many of you were there in the last ILS 2020 Feb? Please raise your hands. How many of you were there in the last 2020 ILS? Please raise your hand a little higher. Oh, there are 4 or 5 over here. So it's good, relevant beginning also. So, our survey was done that we in ISKCON, we have just some time back, like 2020 means 4 years back, we completed 50 years of ISKCON. So, yeah, there have been many challenges, many opportunities in the last 50 years, many lessons that we all learned. What do we need to focus on as an organization? What do we need to focus on for the next 50 years? That was a survey done amongst the leaders. What do we need to focus upon? So, many things came up that we need to focus upon deepening our understanding of Prabhupada's books. We need to focus on the online presence of ISKCON. We need to focus upon the succession planning, the leadership training, the sustainability, the farms, Varnashrama, so many things. And devotee care also was one of it. So, a number of such broad areas were identified that we as an ISKCON need to focus upon in the next 50 years. So, around 500 members who were attending, 5 to 700 in a session, in a plenary session, every individual person was asked to prioritize. The groups were made, among 500, around 100 groups were made, 5 were in each. Prioritize 3 out of all the areas that were identified, around 12 areas were identified, 12 to 15 broad areas which we need to focus upon. So prioritize 3 areas, right? Each one needs to prioritize. Okay, so then they asked, how many of you feel that we need to focus upon the sustainability or the farm projects? There were around 50 to 60% of the audience, they raised their hands. How many of you feel we need to focus upon the leadership training? Again, there were around 60 to 70% who raised their hands. How many of us need to focus on deepening our understanding of Prabhupada's books, the Siddhanta? Similarly, there were even more, around 75% of the devotees raised their hands. How many of you feel we need to focus on devotee care? 100% raised their hands in the audience. 100% raised their hands. Some even raised their 2 hands. It's like Lord Chaitanya, right? You're supposed to raise 1 hand, but devotees were even raising 2 hands. We need to focus upon the devotee care. So this is among the leaders. This was a survey. There were around 5 to 700 devotees present in the plenary session. The survey was done, the last ILS. So I would like to ask some of you. We have the microphone, cordless. Yeah, Rahul Prabhu, will you take? I would like to ask some of you, why do you think that devotee care, we leaders, all of you all leaders prioritize, in the last I was saying. Or why do you think the leaders gave so much emphasis to devotee care? Why do you think devotee care is so important? Today only, Navin Nirad Prabhu was giving a talk and he asked, how many from here are from 1980s? There were only 2 amongst the 80 devotees sitting. From 1980s, there were only 2 present over there. Or from 1990s. If you go to some temple and in every 5 years, almost all the faces change. You won't be able to recognize an old face. Very difficult. Almost in next 5 years, you see all faces have changed. More than 90%. We are the old devotees. So, you just become pipeline. We don't retain them. Good, thank you. for that insightful answer. Yes, Prabhu.
We need happier devotees.
Okay, we need
happier devotees.
We need
and
happier
then
devotees.
Automatically more devotees will come.
Automatically, happy devotees, more devotees. Okay, yes, Krishna Archan Prabhu, take the microphone. And we'll have last by Mataji from here.
I think devotee care is not a means, it is the end.
Okay,
Because that's the whole purpose of our, like.
Devotee care is not just the means, it is the end. Very good, excellent, very insightful. Krishna Bhakta Janma Mula Hai Sadhu Sang Krishna Prema Janme The Ho Puna Mukhya Ang. The root cause for development of Krishna Prema, the association, service to the devotees, it remains the primary limb in the stage of perfection. It is not just the means, the end. Thank you, Krishna Archan Prabhu, for that insightful reply. Please give the microphone to Mataji.
Devotee word comes from devotion.
Devotee word comes from devotion.
So devotion is most rare, and Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavanji. After all the species we go through, we come to this devotion. And Suniti told Dhruv Maharaj that Lord Vishnu is the one who can give millions of mothers affection. So we are all looking for love. We want to be loved, we want to love. So the devotion has to be cared for, and all these other needs, the mental, the bodily, it's a support system. So it has to be taken care of.
Okay, so this human form of life is rare. Even rarer is the opportunity to come to the point of meeting the devotees and taking up to devotional service. Thank you. Thank you all for your insightful inputs. We go ahead. Let's hear something from our leaders. I will request someone to please read this. Yeah, Mata, you like to read this? Raise hand to volunteer for inputs, but I can invite you to read this.
However, I have heard that there was a study by some outsiders where they said that ISKCON has the best philosophy, but when they talk about taking care of devotees, ISKCON is way down the list by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. Carry on the care legacy, page 6.
Okay, so now we have very attractive philosophy, but while taking care of devotees, that means we attract many devotees, but we are not retaining that many devotees. The Prabhu said over here, we are not retaining that many devotees. We'll have another quote. I'll request someone to volunteer to please read this quote from another for ISKCON leaders, His Holiness Kavichandra Swami Maharaj. Yes, please read this quote.
We want all the devotees to feel that they belong and are important, to feel that the leaders love them and care for them as individuals, not just what service they do. Srila Prabhupada did that and inspired great results.
Thank you. So, this is also a very important, insightful Siddhant which Maharaj has given. Well, Prabhupada did inspire all of us to strive for great achievements, great projects, but he also had a very caring attitude towards an individual. To give an example, there was one scientist, the devotees told Prabhupada in a scientific convention, one scientist has remarked that the science should be used, let's use all the scientific talent to understand how God is great. And that created a huge uproar, there was a lot of objection in a scientific conference. So, the devotee suggested, Prabhupada, we should send all the books to him, because if this scientist become a devotee, he can do a lot for our movement. When Prabhupada heard this, he didn't pay much importance to that he can do a lot for our movement. Prabhupada said, yes, send him the books. He is ready to become a devotee. Right? Prabhupada focused upon him. Even when there would be reporters who would asking Prabhupada questions, Prabhupada would answer, and Prabhupada was concerned, yes, that they should represent ISKCON, Krishna consciousness properly. But even after the interview was over, the interviewer would say, thank you Swamiji, but Prabhupada would still want to talk to the reporter. He would still want to talk to the reporter. So he was more interested in the reporter than his report. Right? He can publish a good report, but Prabhupada wanted the reporter to understand the importance of Krishna consciousness and take up to Krishna consciousness. He was not simply interested in the report, though he wanted a good report, but it was the reporter also. So his concern for the individual was also very prominent, and therefore he inspired great results or great surrender. Can you imagine Prabhupada is traveling from Amritsar with all the devotees, and in Delhi there is one lawyer, Mr. Gupta, comes and say, Prabhupada, can you ask your disciples to start a movement? And they have a ticket book from Amritsar to Bombay. Prabhupada asked some of the devotees to get down at Delhi, take up your luggage and start a movement. Right? Yamuna Mataji, Guru Das Prabhu, Gopal Krishna Maharaj. So get down here and start the movement in Delhi. They are on the way to Bombay, right? And there is a train has halted for 10-15 minutes, and Prabhupada requests them and they get down. So because of his care, because of his love for the individual soul, he inspired great surrender. Okay, so now, though devotee care, we are discussing about devotee care, and devotee care is gradually picking up. Like when we travel and we talk to the various leaders, temple, and they say, yes, we have a devotee care department in the temple, devotee care department. So that means devotee care is functioning. But again, Prabhupada gives us insight that devotee care is not just one department. It is the way of living, and the way of living in the spiritual world. So, can someone please read this code? You can pass the microphone. Yes, Prabhu.
Everyone should be friendly for the service of the Lord. Everyone should praise another service to the Lord and not be proud of his own service. This is the way of Vaishnava thinking, Vaikuntha thinking.
Thank you. You can pass on the microphone. The same purport, Prabhupada again emphasizes, second time in the same purport. Yes, Prabhu, would you like to read?
Everyone should be allowed to render service to the Lord to the best of his ability, and everyone should appreciate the service of others, such as the activities of Vaikuntha.
Such are the activities of Vaikuntha. So devotee care is again not just a department. It is not just the responsibility of leaders. Like sometimes people say, here the devotee care is lacking so much. People feel it's like someone's responsibility. It's lacking so much. It's leader responsibility or departmental responsibility. But it's our responsibility. Our responsibility. If there is something lacking, then we have to take the onus to give it. We have to start giving. Okay, let's read another beautiful, insightful quote by Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. Yes, take the microphone.
Spirit of sacrifice, I wish that every selfless, tender-hearted person of Gaudiya Math, Gauranga's followers, will be prepared to shed 200 gallons of blood for the nourishment of the spiritual corpus of every individual of this world. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. 200 gallons of blood. In your life, you make that much blood max. Keep giving every month, twice a month you can give maximum around 300 to 400 ml, something like that. And if you give throughout your life for 100 years, then you can donate 200 gallons of blood. Statistics, when I did some mathematical calculation. To nourish the individual spiritual corpus, to nourish of every individual. How much more for the devotees we should do? How much more for the devotees? Just imagine Maharaj Shibi is ready to give the flesh from his body to protect the surrendered pigeon. How much more we should do for the devotees who have surrendered their lives? Maharaj Rantidev gives, the water which is going to save his life to the dogs. How much more we should do for the devotees? There are so many examples in the scriptures. The spirit of sacrifice. Now, our society has spent, we discussed in the beginning that how 50 years, last ILS 2020, we had completed 50 years. Now we are looking ahead for another 50 years. Our society is kind of moving from Kanishta to Madhyama. How is Kanishta Adhikari defined in Srimad Bhagavatam? Archayam eva hareye pujam ya shraddhya ihate. One who has great faith in worship of the Supreme Lord. But that person doesn't have equal faith. Na tad bhakteshu cha anneshu. But that same amount of faith, dedication is not there to serve the devotees. There is great faith in service of the deities. It gives enthusiasm, like we see great enthusiasm to celebrate the festival centered around deities. We have budget for the deity department, so many things, right, to worship Krishna, celebrate Krishna, which is great. But we do not have that much focus to serve the devotees. So, Kanishta Adhikari means when the faith is lacking, equal amount of faith is lacking in service of devotees. Now that our society, we all want to emphasize devotee care. When we consider service to devotee equally important or even more important, the taking care of Krishna's devotee is even more important than service to Krishna. When we come to that understanding, we move to Madhyam stage. Ishvare tad adhineshu. Tad adhineshu, those surrendered to Him. When we have friendly relationship, attitude of service to them, we move to Madhyama. So it is like taking care of Krishna's devotees, having equal faith is advancement. And that's how our society also is going to advance further by actually investing in taking care of the devotees. We take care of the devotees take care of the mission. Naturally. Although we don't expect, we just want to serve and take care of the devotees. Automatically the devotees will take care of the mission. So it is our cumulative responsibility, devotee care. Not just the leader responsibility, not just a department. It's a way of living in the spiritual world. But to actually embed the devotee care, the leaders play the most important role because yajid acharati shrestha tattat evetaro janaha. The leaders play the most important role. So I would like to now invite His Grace Radha Gopinath Prabhu, who will give further insights on how the leaders can actually embed devotee care within the Krishna conscious communities. To invite His Grace Radha Gopinath Prabhu. He has much experience in that.
Om Gyananti Virandhasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shri Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Bhashyati Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Hare Krishna. I have not come to speak merely about devotee care. I have come to just share some of the things from the devotee care manual that was developed by the Devotee Care Committee 2015 by Ras Mandal Prabhu, when he sent out questionnaires and took out the responses. And when the manual was brought out, and I was reading those manuals, that was like an amazing revelation. And I realized I was basking in the sunlight of devotee care. And high time that we should share this. And I'm not going to share certain principles I'll speak about, not about systems. Because once we understand the principles, then you can take whatever the shoe fits, wear it. That's the whole idea, is just to share certain good practices and certain foundational principles that need to be understood. I am very good at receiving devotee care and speaking about devotee care. And Damodar Prabhu is good in doing devotee care. So mine will be more theoretical, but if you can apply it, probably many of you are applying it, that's why you're we are looking so blissful because we have been sharing. So, cultural mechanisms for embedding devotee care. As Prabhu rightly pointed out, it's not about just having a department. It's about everyone as a Vaishnava, as a Madhyamadhikari, feeling for the devotees to the left of them, to the right of them. That's all. It's not that some leader at the top suddenly realizes halo around the head and speaks about devotee care and he speaks about and everyone is cared for. No. If we are not a part of the solution, we are a part of the problem. So actually it's about us. What best can we do? Of course, when we say it is meant exclusively for the leaders, who is a leader? Anyone who is inspiring even one person is a leader. You may not know, but people all over may be looking at you and getting inspired. Someone like Jananiwas Prabhu, I was just thinking. He is just watering the root of the tree, Radha Madhav, serving them, that's all. People who just look at Radha Madhav, appreciate him. People think about his devotional service, they are inspired. Somewhere in the world, somewhere in Alaska and probably Donetsk or Moscow somewhere, they just looking at the deities and said, wow. And remembering his wonderful services, his dedication, his commitment. One may be inspiring. So we don't know. We need to be the best possible version of ourselves. The situation is slightly changing from what it was during Prabhupada's time. During Prabhupada's time, the focus was the temple. Devotees stayed in the temple. There was temple and there was the outside world. But today, it's more community and congregation based. That's the difference. And when it comes to this kind of a situation, and things are different. The culture, it's an international society. Within Mumbai, South Bombay is different from, northern side. The dynamics are different. Culture is different. Lifestyle is different. What to speak of, international society, different countries, different regions. So because the cultural difference is there, the dynamics are so different, one needs to understand the principles and then think how best those principles for the values to be imbibed, and from there takes birth the guidelines, from the guidelines certain practices, and a group of practices becomes a system which is put in a structure. So from the most subtlest principles to the most grossest form of systems and structures, when we try to impose one system upon the whole world, in one sense it's kind of a violence. This is my personal feeling. Because each temple, each region, each area is unique. We need to understand the principles and understanding the situation, the dynamics of that place, apply those principles the best way we can. And therefore, what we will be focusing is on creating a culture of care, not just a department or a system of care, but actually a culture of care. So what we'll be discussing is the cultural mechanisms for embedding. This is called embedding. They have embedded in such a way they can't. Right? Sometimes these precious stones and semi-precious stones are embedded in the marble. So that's like embedding devotee care. I thought you came to test it. Okay. One amazing, takeaway for me from that amazing book, Embedding Care in Krishna Consciousness, was this concept of devotee care as a virtue and devotee care as a function or a system. If we can understand this, a lot can be achieved. One is the virtue of care. Deeply one should be feeling paradukha dukhi. Vaishnava janato tene kahiye je pid paraye janere. So actually, the first and foremost thing is, as Vaishnava, everyone must develop Balisheshu Dushashucha, Prema, Maitri, Kripa. That concern, deep concern for the sustained and overall well-being of every member in the community. What would it take? Every person should be asking this question. What would it take for each and every particular devotee under my care to feel protected, to feel inspired, to feel enthused, to remain active in the mission of Srila Prabhupada till the last day of their life? If each one of us can ask this question, that's the virtue. And born out of that virtue is a system. And those systems, just like, for example, Krishna is concerned about us. Suhridam sarva bhutanam. Therefore, he has created this whole material world, an opportunity for rebellious soul like us to purify and come back, to be cared for nicely, not so badly slapped and not too much pampered, just the balance. And what are the systems he has set? Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam. According to their nature, according to their propensities, according to their, abilities, he has set up systems. The law of karma, perfect system he has established. So he has virtue, concern. Sadhavo hridayam mahyam sadhunam hridayam tuham. But simultaneously, he's also set up systems which are so perfect. And if something goes wrong, he himself comes, sambhavami yuge yuge, to set up the system. Appreciate those who are properly following and chastise those who didn't. Learn from them what to do, what not to do. Madhvacharya also, even though he personally preached, he personally wrote a lot of books, simultaneously established the Ashtamatha, his GBC, Ashtamatha system, collective leadership. 800 years down the line, it's still going on strong. Lord Chaitanya, he was concerned. He traveled all over the world, all over India, personally caring, personally trying to give Krishna consciousness. Simultaneously, his GBC were the 6 Goswamis. Nana Shastra Vicharaneka Nipunau, Sadharma, they were the Sanstapakacharyas. Sri Chaitanya Mano Abhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale. Whatever he desired, they actually established. They wrote the books, they established temples, they established deity worship, they established ideal behavior. This is what Lord Chaitanya told them, so that legacy can follow. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was concerned, Brihad Mridanga, first the message should go, and then he established this Gaudiya Math. And Srila Prabhupada, he seeing what his godbrothers had issues with, proactively, not only printed books, but also saw that a system is established so that 50, 60 years down the line, today we can see that it is still going on wonderfully. And therefore, it's a big responsibility. It's like a relay race. You run and then you hand over the baton. Somebody runs and hand over. As soon as the baton is received, responsibility comes. Imagine 8 people run and the 9th fellow feels, Mera mood nahi, I am not in a mood. And he just throws we are letting down all the people who ran to complete the race. Bringing the conditioned souls back to the lotus feet of Krishna. So it's a big responsibility now that we are in the position of taking that baton and moving forward. We can only relax when the baton is handed over successfully to someone. So, Srila Prabhupada, he said, I am very much concerned about you, that you have been injured by working. You should always think that your body is no more your body, but it is Krishna's body. Therefore, you should take care of it. So he was concerned. Sitting in Vrindavan, he's crying tears for the sufferings of the whole world. Therefore, he left Vrindavan, a comfortable place where he was respected. he was honored and, he was comfortable. Went to America, practically, having nothing, no facilities, no resources. So that's concern. And as a system, of course, this kind of management of affairs is better handled by the GBC, which I have created for this purpose. As far as centralized medical plan for the whole society, no such plan or facility insurance has seemed practical as yet. The best thing is to work out locally. Try to find the services of a free medical facility in Seattle or some way that sick devotees can be cared for. That's your responsibility. So on one hand is developing a concern, and on the other hand, set up robust, sustainable systems of care so that, nobody is just indispensable. Okay. So there are two things. There is a mission and there is the missionary. Devotees are the missionaries, and this ISKCON society is the mission of Lord Chaitanya. Mission without the missionary is unsustainable. And missionary without a mission is self-interested individuals. So what is the balance? The mission should be thinking that these are our star performers. Right? They're giving their lives, and therefore our concern is to see that each of them, which are so dear to Krishna, Mad Bhakta Puja Vedika, Sadhavo Hridayam, Sadhunam Hridayam Taham, they should be taking care. And individual devotees should be thinking of the mission. They should not be thinking of themselves. This is the perfect balance. If mission keeps on demanding from people, missionaries may feel used. And if missionaries don't think of the mission, nothing will be sustainable in the long run. They'll become self-indulgent individuals. And as Martin Luther said, life isn't worth living until you have found something worth dying for. That's the mission. Actually, devotees don't care for themselves. Devotees should care for the others, and the mission should care for the devotees. Lord Chaitanya told Haridas Thakur, "Oh Haridas, how can you think of passing away? How can I live without you? How can I live without you?" Imagine, Lord Chaitanya is telling. And what did Haridas say? "Thank you, my Lord, you realize my birth." No, he says, "My Lord, if an ant goes, who cares? What does it make a difference to the world if an ant dies?" So the devotee is focused on the mission. He's not thinking about himself, while the mission is thinking about each of the devotees. The good example is the synergy of mission and the missionary is, think of the trapeze act in a circus. How many of you have seen a trapeze act? People go and then he catches his lotus feet and then he goes like that, something like this here. Right? Each one catching other's lotus feet and hands. They are the star performers. Because they do so well, the whole city comes to watch the circus. Their performance increases the fame of the circus. And the circus people are concerned. These are our people who are giving their life for it, risking their life. And therefore, they put a net underneath. Right? If he falls, we can't afford to lose. They're giving their life for the circus. So this is the mutual. That is Vedic culture. If you see the scriptures, the whole society is told, give charity to the Brahmanas, otherwise you will go to hell. And the Brahmanas are said, if you take even 1 paisa for yourself, unnecessary, unwanted sense gratification, you will go to deeper hell. The whole world is said, Atithi Devo Bhava, serve the guests, serve the guests. And the guests are told, don't take advantage of the, don't overstay and take undue advantage of the hospitality. Such a wonderful balance. Rather than guest demanding and the health feeling Nikolai has, you just get out from here. So this is a very healthy and mutual dependence or mutual service. That must be the attitude. All right. So now there are 12 mechanisms, cultural mechanisms to embed a culture of devotee care within a community. And the first 6 are called primary embedding mechanisms. Why are they primary? Before that, I would like to tell you one thing. A culture of care has 2 aspects. There is a professed value and there is a perceived value. Professed value is what we say we have, and perceived is what people see there. For example, a farm says, pure 100% organic grapes farm. That's what they are professing, that is 100% pure organic grapes. And people come. What do they perceive? The first thing what they see is called the artifacts. Artifacts means what they see immediately. And gradually when they stay for a little longer time and do little more research, then what they see are the deep underlying assumptions, values, beliefs, etc. So there are professed values and perceived values. In ISKCON, professed values can be the Siddhanta, Mad Bhakta Puja Vedika, Yo Mad Bhakta Same Priyaha. Devotee is so dear. Lord Chaitanya says, place all the wealth of the world on one side of the balance and place one devotee. This will become heavy heavier. To me, I value my devotee more than everything in the universe. So this is the professed value. And what do we perceive? So first, when people walk into that grape farm, they see very beautiful, juicy, fresh grapes which doesn't have, chemical coating. And they taste it, wow, it's too good. Green leaves and are beautifully hanging and bunches huge. This is immediate. But then they stay for some time and check out, what do they put? They may not put right there, but they put somewhere else. And then I see some chemicals. Then you realize, no, it's not fully 100%. Maybe it is 70%. But when they see everything is purely organic, then they say, okay, to the extent the professed and the perceived is balancing, to that extent the culture of care is ideal or better to that extent. So therefore, professed value of devotee care, everyone, we all speak. Whenever I do a seminar, everyone comes out. Why is devotee care so? Everyone knows why devotee care is important. No doubt about it, especially in the current few years. Earlier they felt, care? Time pass nahi karne ka. No, don't waste time. Yeah, care. We should care about Krishna, that's all. We should care about the mission. It's good. Because young, youthful, full of energy. And now, if I get up, then sitting is a problem. And if I sit down, getting up is a problem. Somebody cares for me. Slightly it comes. So, different recipients and different aspects of care. So, primarily, even though everyone must be caring for each other, primarily it depends upon those with position of leadership. Because as he rightly pointed out, Damodar Prabhu said, Yadyad acharati, not yadyad vadati. Yadyad acharati sreshtha. Tattva devetaruja. How do I know? See, one thing is what I speak. But how do I know deep in my heart what do I really value? What do I really assume? What do I really believe? my behavior shows, my decisions show, my priorities, my budgeting, my planning actually shows what do you really believe. It's one thing to speak about devotee care, but it's another thing to live devotee care. And therefore, these 6, we will discuss that little more in detail. These 6 are the primary embedding mechanisms. Primary meaning they are the deep-rooted convictions of the leader, which manifests in their attitude, in their dealings, in their decisions, in their planning, and their behavior with others. And these are related with the virtue part, the virtue of care. Do you have the virtue or the quality of caring for devotees? And the second 6 are the secondary reinforcement and stabilizing mechanisms. Why are they called secondary? Because unless these are in alignment with the virtues, the primary, they won't be valued. They won't sustain. Mere virtue of devotee care without systems is only lip service. And mere systems of devotee care without the leaders having that virtue is unsustainable. It will collapse. Because I really don't believe in it. Just because it is a mandatory thing, we have a devotee care department. It is his headache. I can't give you money, just care whatever you can. So if leaders are not convinced about it, it is simply it will collapse. So therefore both are very important. So let's see. The first is, these are first 6 which are virtue of devotee care. That which leaders pay attention to, measure and evaluate on a regular basis. This is really very important. What do you measure? What do you pay attention to? What do you evaluate on a regular basis? That shows what is priority for you. What do you really believe? What do you really value? Right? For example, this is one arrival address. So, I took up this from Guru Maharaj's mouth that he is very fond of books. Hare Krishna. Therefore, I am stressing on this point. Where is book? Where is book? Where is book? So, kindly help me. This is my request. This is my personal opinion, others can differ and maybe they can share later. But my personal feeling was, at that time, because he was alone and he had to establish this movement, what was most important that this message should reach out to everyone. And not enough mature, senior, advanced devotees were there in the moment. They were like hands and legs. And Prabhupada was the heart and the head of ISKCON. And so therefore he was insisting, let this book reach out. That's all. You don't have to speak. You don't worry. You just hand over this book. And later we will see how Prabhupada said that now let's boil the milk. Let the study of the book, not just only distribution. Later he said, now I think we should take care of the devotees who are taking care of the mission. So this is where he paid attention and therefore it expanded. Where the mind goes, the energy flows. And how do you know what you pay attention to? Very simple. What do you notice? What do you notice immediately? Lord Chaitanya noticed Sanatana Goswami having a costly blanket. He just noticed. Sanatana Goswami was sharp enough to understand. Prabhu doesn't like it. Why? Because hypocrisy. He noticed Brahmananda Bharati having a deer skin. And he kind of made comment also. I don't recognize him. Instantly action was taken. So what do you notice? What do you pay attention to? What do you praise? What you don't notice? You're giving some report and that's really doesn't of my concern. I remember, I would like to share here some of the things that at Radha Gopinath Mandir I experienced under His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. I hope you do not misunderstand. I just was there for several years, decades, and I saw him from close quarters. And when I read all of these things, each of his actions was just coming to me. So it's not to promote or something. I hope all of you understand. These are leaders here. But I'm just sharing. That's why I said, I have not come here to advise, and I have not come here to just speak, but just to share how each of us, without our knowledge, or sometimes consciously or unconsciously, communicating our convictions of what do we really believe and value in every action, in every word, in every thought, in every decision. So therefore that we must cultivate first. So I remember every time he would come he would go to the West and he would come back after 3 months, 4 months. And we would go, as leaders, we would go to receive him. And as soon as he would come back in a flight, everyone would receive him with kirtan, and then he would come and sit in the car. And there was privileged ones were able to get into the back seat. And somehow we would manage 4, 5, 6 somehow, in the back. And invariably I see, as soon as the car would start, you would go some distance and you can predict it. He would turn around and look at everyone first, who is there? And the first thing he would ask, are all the devotees happy? This was the first question every time. In fact, sometimes he would ask in the early days, is every devotee there? Because every time, as he said, it's like a wicket gate. New devotees have come, Hari Bol! And next day, Hari Bol. So, is everyone there? Yeah. Is everyone happy? And before he came, I was in charge of the, Lady Northcote Hindu orphanage. We had an orphanage, called it Gurukul. We used to take charge, 55 boys. And I used to ask them, Are sab khush ho na? Are you happy? Because Maharaj would come and, he just tap with his bead bag, tap, he said, Hari Bol Maharaj, are you happy? Yes, Maharaj. Bola, haan, bol yaar. My heart would be beating. I'd make sure at least 3 days before, happy hai ki nahi? Make sure you're happy. So I knew it was not about the score, book score, it was not about the funds collected. Is every devotee there? Is every devotee happy? Then I understood, okay, this is what I need to work upon, because this is what he wants. And that's what I need to do to please him and to, serve him. Somehow the book distribution must be doubled and tripled as far as possible. Do it. So this is what you pay attention to, measure on a regular basis. Okay. This is another concern. Once when one of the initiated brahmacharis left to go back to Maya, it caused Srila Prabhupada great pain, and for days he inquired from me whether the brahmachari had returned. So that was his concern. He would pay attention. Are they all happy? Are they serving nicely? Second, how leaders react to critical incidents and organizational crisis. Critical incidents, emergencies, and organizational crisis is the time of best learning that takes place. Why? Because when there is a crisis, everyone is in tremendous anxiety. And when there is anxiety, whatever steps are taken to relieve that anxiety, people say we should always do that. And that is the time, whatever decision is, priority is chosen, that becomes the culture. And I can, we see here, even in Srila Prabhupada saying, he says, so when the police commissioner in Mumbai, when there was a temple was being constructed, said, this Harinam is creating nuisance. Prabhupada was so angry. And actually they wanted to, stop Sankirtan. Prabhupada was so angry. He said in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Satatam Kirtayantuma, that one should always engage in Kirtan. How dare the commissioner call Kirtan a nuisance? He said, you start a propaganda, go to the chief minister, talk to everyone. And Balavant Prabhu, who was very skillful in this, He went to the chief minister, contacted the chief minister. As soon as he passed, everyone became very favorable. Ah, Kirtan is so good. Because chief minister said, apne aadmi hai, at our people, let them do it. So Prabhupada immediately acted upon it. And he told his followers how to react to these situations. Take shelter of the scriptures and act fearlessly, without hesitation and without any, delay. And he did that. And later, of course, everything was found. This is a very serious thing. The difference of sannyasis and grahastha, everything will be spoiled. Especially when there was a big problem. If you read in Vayasaki's book, Radha Damodar pastime, there was a big difference of opinion. There were like two parties almost, the grahasthas and the sannyasis. When that was becoming a crisis, he actually took that serious step and worked upon it. Even in our temple, we saw when Bhaktitirth Swami Maharaj, he was sick, and Radhanath Swami Maharaj traveled there and stayed, and Bhaktitirth Maharaj requested him to just be with him. So for 8 weeks practically, he was with him. So that was a statement in itself, how we have to take care of our God brothers and God sisters. When Jayapatak Swami Maharaj was very sick, he was in Mumbai at that time, and the doctor has said 99% no chance. And we were supposed to go for Kartik Yatra at that time, 5,000 of us. And just before Kartik Yatra, this happened. And then, there was a crisis. How could we go? Maharaj is here. And eventually we went to Vrindavan. And the first day of the Yatra, 5,000 people sitting in the pandal, and there was Prabhupada's picture, and His Holiness Radhanath Swami began his first initial address by saying, you may all be wondering why we are here at Vrindavan while one of our senior God brothers and senior leaders of ISKCON is fighting for his life here in Mumbai. How can we come here and enjoy in Vrindavan while he is suffering like that? And then he answered it himself. He said, we were thinking what we could do. And the doctors had told, because seeing his condition, that no one except one individual, his caretaker, can go inside. So the only thing we could do is to just pray for him. So Maharaj said, if anything, the only thing we can do is pray. Why not pray in this number, 5,000 people praying in the month of Kartik in holy place like Vrindavan. So every day the second kirtan, evening kirtan, was dedicated. Maharaj's picture was also there at the feet of Prabhupada. And every day 5,000 people would be completely absorbed in praying to Radha and Krishna, Radha and Shyam Sundar, for the well-being of Jayapatak Swami Maharaj. And every day the doctor, one of our doctors, would read the report of what is his status. And the amazing part was, we came back, and in January we were in Pune, about 3,500 devotees. And Jayapataka Maharaj, against medical advice, drew all the way from Mumbai to Pune, which is 3.5 hours drive, in a van, the ambulance lying down. He came simply to address all of us. And he said, though he couldn't speak so clearly at that time, he said, I am simply coming to say thanks to all of you, because I heard that when I was sick, you all prayed for me. Believe me, no other hours and days of seminar on devotee care and love for each other and caring for each other, extending for each other, could have taught us this much like this one incident. So this is very important. How in the time of crisis, how we respond to those situations. Observed criteria by which leaders allocate resources, especially when scarce. when there are less resources, where are we going to invest? That shows also our priority. What do we really value? That shows. So, this is Prabhupada, early days. Chippiwada, he would go to print his books before he went to America. There is this Kumar Jain is the printer. And he's telling, I know he didn't even have even 25 paisa. He would come all the way on foot and without any breakfast or anything. He would come in the morning to the press, and when I would ask him, Swamiji, did you have anything to eat this morning? He would say, oh no, Mr. Jain, I just came because I had to see the proofs. Many times I told him that if he was feeling difficulty, why was he continuing? But he said, no, it is my mission and I'll always carry it on as far as possible. He didn't care about his health. He didn't care about his food. To him, his mission as given by his Guru Maharaj was the topmost priority. If there was, that's why I say, any money you get, print books. This is the instruction he received. If you want, pull out this Bible, sell books. This is the eager desire of his Guru Maharaj, which he imbibed, the spirit. So that shows. I remember very well, in our temple, one time, Radhanath Swami Maharaj asked, we used to have this annual Kartik Yatra, sometimes to Vrindavan, sometimes to Mayapur, a big number. And one time he asked the leaders, the counselors, he said, how many are coming this time? And he told, hey, very less. Why others are not coming? No, Maharaj, it's too costly. 4 in a family, so it becomes too much. So, therefore, some of them are not coming. Are they not coming because of something else or only about financial things? He said, only Maharaj, because of financial things. Some can't afford. He said, all right, you make sure that all of them come. All my Vyas Puja money you take and you give. Immediately all of them, no, Maharaj, we will do it. We will do the needful. And then they decided to have a system. Some kind of a pool, while if all the counselors tell that their counselors are really sincere, but the only thing, their lifestyle is such that they can't afford, they were sponsored. That became a culture because he was insisting. Another time, like that, and something like that was happening. He was giving a Sunday feast class. And this is how the mic was working and the sound system was working. Immediately getting down, he caught hold of the nearest fellow near the sound system, the brahmachari who happened to be that day doing something. And he dragged him into his room. And he told him, I want the best sound system in the market by next Sunday. Now the best sound system. This is our main business, Shravanam and Kirtanam. And then he, of course, that mic had like this. That mic was like this. So he showed it to the devotee. You know what is this? He said, wire, Maharaj. No, what is this? What can he say? He just looked at wire. No, these are the arteries and the veins of Harinam Prabhu. He said, our whole mission is hearing and chanting. The foundation of our bhakti is Shravanam and Kirtanam. I want to have the best sound system. If you don't have money, I will give you. But I want the best. And if you see, whenever we have even 5,000 or 7,000 people in our, Kartik Yatras, the most anxiety-ridden fellow is the sound system fellow. Sometimes Maharaj would ask, so, could everyone hear? No response. He would look at that. And that fellow, completely equipoised, but inside he was like walking about to the... Yes, Maharaj. So, eventually it became that sound system should be top class. And yatras, everyone should be able to come. Deliberate role modeling, teaching and coaching. Srila Prabhupada also started to notice that some of us were coming late to Mangalarti. This was in Kumbh Mela. It was extremely cold. This was in... and there, not coming at all, young devotees, Westerners, who live in that kind of cold situation, they were not coming. So one morning, although he was a little frail in health, he got up at 4 o'clock and came out in his gamsha, sat down under the pump and took the ice cold bath early in the morning. That had a very profound effect on all of us, and we felt so ashamed that we just couldn't sleep late anymore. This is told by I think Satsvarup Maharaj, right there. So this is, one thing, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, irrespective of, he may have his GBC meetings late at 2 o'clock or something, you can expect him, the conch shell blows in the Mangalarti, and then you see, curtain opens and he is there doing, what can be a stronger statement on the importance of being a role model than being an example? Apani Acharya Prabhu Jivara Sikha. His Holiness Jayaprakash Swami Maharaj. I can't understand which engine is running this personality's body. Unimaginable. Anyone in that position would have relaxed and said, I'm too much weak now, you all know what my situation is. He is unstoppable. It's something, some other energy inside. It's some spiritual energy that can be inspiring these personalities. Who can ever give an excuse? No, I had this problem, that issue. Fourth, observed criteria by which leaders allocate rewards and status. My dear GBC members, please accept my blessings. I find amongst the GBC members that Satsvarup Maharaj stands first because he submits regularly the report. Finished. His appreciation, one word, is a clear indication what is expected of each of those devotees in that position. That's kind of rewarding. Rewarding doesn't mean, some gift. Sometimes just a lifting of an eyebrow or a tap on the back or a little embrace. For years together you remember that. Yeah, that leader came and just, appreciated that. It's not about just monetary reward alone. It's just a few words of appreciation, heartfelt appreciation. So, I remember we had, in our Brahmachari ashram, we would go for Harinam Sankirtan and Chowpati. And anyone would come inside. People in the road who are walking, who don't have food, they would just come along with us. And we would say, Aajao abhi, and stay in the temple. And one fellow ran away with 17,000 rupees. One fellow ran away with our first desktop computer. That time Maharaj called us and said, what nonsense, which kind of people are you bringing here? And then he put up some standards. He said, these are the people, you cultivate them. Anyone can come. But they have to show their commitment and sincerity and dedication before you actually take them. And then he gave one criteria. If a person is lazy, you can correct. If a person is little relaxed, that you can be improved. Everything can be improved. But if a person is creating politics, he should be out. And fortunately, in the last 34 years, we never had except one. And we didn't throw him, he walked on his own. He's creating groupism like that. And we called him and we spoke to him. And he was so angry. He threw away his slippers like that in front of us. His keychain he put on his face, on our face, and he just walked off. Like Vidura, keeping the bow and walk. Only the role was little different. He was so angry. You're telling me like that. We were relieved. We didn't throw him. He on his own. So he said that these are certain criteria, no question. You think I am not compassionate, he said once. I know, but I am concerned about what kind of brahmacharis we have, what kind of role model that they will be to the congregation who are respecting and literally worshipping so many brahmacharis. So this is not appropriate. They can help or they can hurt the most. They have to be ideal, exemplary. And the sixth and the last of the virtues is observed criteria by which leaders recruit, select, promote, retire and exclude members. Very important to the governing body, GBC, Prabhupada, right? Anyone wishing to be initiated as a Brahmana will have to pass the Bhakti Shastri exam, and anyone wishing to take sannyas will have to pass the Bhakti Vaibhav examination. So these are certain criterias, for to recruit, promote or retire or even exclude members. It is for your daring and active nature that I have chosen you as to represent me as a GBC man. So certain qualities is necessary. Patrata means qualification to take up a position. It's not that simply you hang around like Sridhar Maharaj, told once. Some are born leaders, some are made leaders, and some are pushed into leadership positions. By default, they are standing there and suddenly everyone goes away, light is on them. What am I to do? Create your own, chart or a script. You're a leader now. So, it doesn't matter. But at the same time, sustainability requires certain qualifications. Regarding Manasvi, you immediately inform the police that he has misappropriated so much money. He must give the account or we shall prosecute. Yes, Shrutakirti is a good boy, so he can be made the president as you suggest. It's not that Prabhupada was not compassionate, but if people did not live up to the expectation of the positions that they are taking as leaders of Vaishnava community, then Prabhupada was also very, Lord Chaitanya, he brought the devotee back, Kala Krishna Das, but he said, Abhi nikalo isko, now it can take out. Who can be most compassionate than Mahaprabhu? But at the same time, the mission's name should not be spoiled, and therefore he was very strict about that. So now, the second part, which is organization and design. I'll just quickly run through, because we would like to take some questions if there are any. I'll just quickly run through. But here, it's about care as a function, care as a system. So Prabhupada demonstrated how he was not only a Vaishnava in terms of virtue, but also such a powerful and able and expert and astute administrator. Very rare combination. Either you are too Brahminical or you are a little Kshatriya. But a combination of both is very rare. And that's why he was an Acharya. So organization, design and structure. How have you structurized? What is the flow chart of the whole organization? I wish that each and every branch shall keep their independent identity and cooperate, keeping the Acharya in the center. On this principle, we can open any number of branches all over the world. So he was open for that. At the same time, balance between centralization and decentralization. In some things he wanted decentralized. In some things he wanted centralized. Training should be centralized. But management and fundraising and etc., developing a project can be decentralized. So there's a combination of what to centralize, what to decentralize. Individual leadership, collective leadership. Because he knew, as Anuttam Prabhu was so beautifully, humbly mentioning this morning in the Bhagavatam class, Prabhupada said, no, you are not intelligent. Individually you are not intelligent, but all of you together are very intelligent. The combined leadership. And that is why we see 50 years down the line, ISKCON is going so strong, not only sustainable but expanding and doing such amazing outreach and creatively creating facilities to relate and connect with the outside world. It's not easy to be having fidelity loyalty to the mission, and flexibility to accommodate the changing times. The balance between being conservative and the balance between being conservative and liberal. Too conservative, you become a fanatic, a radical element. Too liberal, you become diluted, compromised, and deviated. What can be changed? What should be retained? This requires a lot of intelligence and discussion. Interesting. Prabhupada is telling Ramakrishna Mission works on this principle, and thus, as organization, they have done wonderfully. Like GBC, the concept of GBC, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur took from Indian Railways. So, anukulya se sankalpo, pratikulya se varjanam. If something is good, take it, use it. The GBC oversees all operations and management of ISKCON. So far my books are concerned, I am setting up a different body of management known as the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. Can you imagine his wisdom? Even if for some reason, if ISKCON closes down, still the BBT will run, somebody will read my book and start ISKCON all over again. So he separated. That was his wisdom right from the beginning. And MVT and others he separated so that deities should be served for first class seva. Organizational systems and procedures. Okay? For example, the morning program all over the world. I was in Moscow 6 years back. First time I went to Moscow, 8 years back. First time I went to Moscow. Then I went to Australia. In Moscow, they didn't understand my language and I didn't understand theirs. Nothing. The only thing we felt, samsara, everyone was dancing. Hare Krishna. That's the only language we knew. And Prabhupada has set such an amazing morning program that you enter, you feel, this is my home. Because in your home you can predict what is going to happen next. Where is what? You go into hotel and something works or not, is it? And which doors opens where you don't know. But here you know. As soon as Jayo Mishtupada, Namaste, and as soon as nothing over, Vrindaye Tulsi Devi pass. So you feel so much at home because the systems are so wonderfully set. The morning program, feast, regular Sunday feast. As far as centralized, this we have discussed already. Rites and rituals of the organization. Even in the Radha Gopinath temple, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj created this counselor system. Thanks to that particular system of care, today it is like a backbone for the whole community. Even though congregation has expanded to about 8,000 on our database, 8,000 people, but still some new, some are 4-rounders, some are 16. But the fact is, everyone feels connected, everyone feels cared for, everyone's at least personal attention is being given. Though things are not as it was earlier, it's big, it's actually becoming big, and there are a lot of lacunae there, but still much better than if it wasn't there. Rites and rituals of the organization. Therefore, our system is to call another Vaishnava as Prabhu. Sir, you are Prabhu, you are master. But we call Prabhu, but I think, no, you are not Prabhu. I am Prabhu, you are servant. Actually, we should believe that he is Prabhu. He is servant of Krishna, therefore he is my Prabhu. This is Vaishnava mentality. But that should be practically exhibited. Rites and rituals are the way you address each other, the way you interact with each other. These are all superficial things. But to the extent we are doing it in a very conscious way, it becomes meaningful. Like for example, I was so happy to see, in this, all the beautiful pictures being put, big posters put of all the dedicated devotees, disciples of Srila Prabhupada who are no more amongst us. Just that gesture, remembering, in Bollywood there is a song, "Hai mere watan ke logon, jara aankh mein bhar lo pani, जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी. Why do we celebrate Vaishnava disappearance and appearance? Why? Today, for example, I was discussing one day, we celebrate in India August 15th as Independence Day, Jan 26th as, Republic Day. Why? We are enjoying freedom today. But for the freedom that we have got today, those people gave up their lives. So just to acknowledge so that we don't take our freedom for granted. Otherwise we may lose it. What to speak of freedom from material existence? What Srila Prabhupada has done, what his initial disciples have done, how can we ever forget what they did? Otherwise we wouldn't be here. If Prabhupada was in America and nobody would have assisted him, where would we be here? None of us accepted, therefore Prabhupada went to the West. So we have to remember this, all these personalities. So, memorial for the departed Vaishnavas. It's an amazing experience when a devotee, especially one senior among us, very, very committed devotee passes away. He instituted, we should have a memorial ceremony. And in the memorial ceremony, literally, all the devotees were literally crying. They said, I wish we had known his qualities before. I wish we could have taken association. One day we were thinking, why not have a memorial when they are living? Why after they are gone? Then we said, okay, on their birthday we can glorify them. Why after passing away? The idea is genuinely trying to appreciate Vaishnavas. Such an important thing. Their physical presence is like the sun, and their wonderful qualities are the moon and the stars. When the sun is there, you get the benefit, but you get the heat also. But when the sun sets, you appreciate what the sun was contributing, and you can see the moon and the star-like qualities. It becomes more obvious. It stands out. So better we appreciate and understand and acknowledge and recognize those qualities amongst us so that we can take advantage. Yeah, these are the rites and rituals, design of physical space, facades and buildings. These are like for example, the new building, the Chakra building, was established even before the main temple was established. Knowing that the devotee should be comfortable. First place for the devotees who will take care of the Lord, and then the Lord's facility was manifested. Even in our Radha Gopinath Mandir, I don't know whether every temple hall is like that, but our temple hall is AC. Not AC Bhaktivedanta Swami, air conditioned. It is an AC hall. And everyone was practically sleeping, it was too hot. We said, no, we should have the AC. So the manager said, no, Maharaj, people will go to sleep. He said, no problem, let them sleep comfortably while hearing the katha, rather than suffering. Then he put some chairs, because we have wooden floor. He put sofas, comfortable sofa, because old people could not. And children, lady with children. And somehow these children are empowered to cry right in the middle of the lecture. And everyone looks at that mother like Muchakulda stare, ready to burn them. And poor thing, she gets up, and as she's walking, people are literally pushing her through their glass. Out. Twice it happened, and Maharaj said, I want to have a place exclusively for mothers with young children. There should be a CCTV and a speaker there. Nobody should miss the association, weekly association, just because, they have young children. And there was no place. So Brahmachari Ashram, one room was cleared. Every Sunday you clear out for 4 hours. They will come and stay here, we put CCTV like that. So facilities for them. Legends and myths about people and events. Who can ever forget the first meeting of Prabhupada with Bhakti? And thankfully we have got that place. And this particular place is so beautifully made now. And yesterday was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's 50th, 150th, sorry. And it's such an amazing festival that was held there, So that's a worshipping our legend to take inspiration and motivation from there. And the very, very prophetical words of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to Prabhupada, that if you ever get some money, print some books. And even while Prabhupada was there, he said, Jayananda has gone to Vaikuntha to be with Krishna. His photo will be placed on the Rath cart in all our temples. We will hold a feast in his honor as we do on the other Vaishnava disappearance day. Can you imagine? This is how we worship a Vaishnava and his contribution to the mission. And finally, formal statements of organizational philosophy, values and creed. Formal statements, like for example, we have the 7 statement, seven purpose of ISKCON, or our statements, Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayor Das Dasanadas, Bharat Bhumite Manusya Janma Hoila Jar, Jare Dekho Tare Kaho Krishna Upadesh, Drunadapi Sunichen. These are our strong, powerful statements. Simple living, high thinking. Preaching is the essence, purity is the force, utility is the principle, books are the basis. So these are some foundational statements, formal statements of organizational philosophy, which actually helps us to move forward. And okay, so we conclude here. Thank you very much. So essentially, to establish a culture of care, 2 things are important: the virtue of care and proper systems to facilitate. If the virtue is exhibited and if systems facilitate and reinforce, then devotee care as a culture becomes sustainable in a community. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.